I'm so sick of that saying everybody eats. I want somebody to be that good on this wide receiver group that he's just a pig and he just stays
stuffed.
up there. Just eats everything.
Stuffed.
Right? You saw Drake London. They were like, oh, let's just throw it to this guy like 15 times in the game.
I want somebody to get rolled out of a buffet. Like, that's what I want.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast.
All right, hello and welcome in. Buffalo Plus live here, presented by Bud Light. We're here at the distillery on Mount Hope Ave. Give a round of applause, everyone.
Yeah, great crowd.
Great crowd today. Getting to meet so many people.
Shout out Bud Light.
Shout out Bud Light. Dan is about to crack his.
There we go. I knew that was happening.
All right.
It's still cold.
Imagine that. All right, that's Mike Catalana. That is Dan Fates. I am Jenna Cottrell. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. We always appreciate it. All right, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here at the distillery on Mount Hope Ave. Once again, thank you to Bud Light. We're here, and we're excited. We're talking Bills and Chiefs.
The Bud Light tour rolls on.
Yes.
This is our fifth or sixth stop? Fourth? Fifth? I'm losing count.
Doesn't matter. All right, we have to
We
talk
learned about
this.
the United States earlier.
Okay, yeah.
It was off air. We've
So,
learned about the United States.
We've had a lot of people come in for this. Always cool to see. And, Mike, we got to meet some people tonight all the way from Alaska.
Yeah, Kevin and Sue came from Alaska. They said there was family here, too, but I think they were just here to see us. So they're here.
They got the prime seats.
Look at that.
They even gave my daughters a moose.
Very sweet.
Which is very cool.
Very sweet.
And I'm sure that all three of them will be fighting over
I was going to say.
who gets to sleep with the moose.
There you
this
go.
is awesome. So shout out to them. Very much appreciated. Seriously, guys. Thank you so much.
That is awesome.
And we learned this off air, but I'm brave enough to admit I learned that Alaska is not part of the continental United States.
There's a room, there's hundreds of people here. Everybody but Dan knew that.
He's like, we're all learning together. No, we're not.
That was all the same continent.
That's not what that means.
That's
But
fine.
Let's talk Chiefs.
All right, here we
Yeah.
go. Let's roll.
Okay. Bills Chiefs coming up on Sunday. Big game for both these teams. And, Mike, I do feel like this matchup is a little bit different this season.
It's different this year because when you look at the Bills at the moment and the Chiefs, because the Chiefs have been getting a lot of love lately and they've played better, both these teams are in second place. Like, they're not leading their divisions. So this game is vital to both teams. The team that loses this game on Sunday puts themselves in a really rough spot to win the division, and with that goes the home games and the potential for the 1 seed or the 2 seed. It all goes that way. So it's a little different than what we've seen in the past. And like I said, even though Kansas City has been on a little more of an uptick, they're still in trouble because they've lost 3 games leading into this game. So this game is vital both for now and for the future, both those teams.
Yeah, and I think you have to take both of that into account. To say the Chiefs are on a little bit of an uptick, I think is downplaying it a little bit. I think they're playing, outside of the Colts, the best football in the NFL. That is why it's always so key, and you always talk about it and always make the great point, Mike. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. And I was talking to some people today, you kind of gauge where the fan base is in terms of Sunday's game. And everybody's like, the consensus is a little scared, a little nervous, which I think is fair. Now, if you were to play the Chiefs back in week 2 or 3, I would think completely different about this game. That's the short-term picture. The big picture is no matter what happens, and you're right, because of both teams are not only in years past, it's been the 1 seed, home field advantage could be decided. This could be the tie-breaking game. This is much more about these teams need wins. But the perspective I wanted to kind of big picture, Dan, not overreacting. You know how I don't overreact?
Never.
You?
Think about last year. The Bills beat the Chiefs, handed them their first loss, and it was like, oh, now the Bills are going to have the advantage. That could be huge with where they meet in the playoffs. They ended up meeting in Kansas City. So even if the Bills lose, that does not necessarily mean that they're going to go to Kansas City again. That's the big picture, 10,000 feet view to have by the time you wake up or go to bed on Sunday night.
I think that is an important point because sometimes it does feel like every matchup is just this immense thing. It can decide so much, but where we're at in the season, where these teams are at, this is, though, a very big game in terms of just getting a quality win for both these teams because we know, you mentioned they're not being number one in their respective divisions, and that is why Sunday could shape up to be such a massive matchup is just because these teams still need wins.
Yeah, they do. And look, the Bills were very happy to get the win they did and in the fashion that they did when they went down to Carolina.
Did they cover?
They covered. Yes, that was a big deal.
Can we address? I know you said it in the podcast because everybody watched the post-game podcast, but I just want to hear it face-to-face.
Okay. So Dan was very excited saying about that they needed to cover.
Just say it.
And I said Dan was right.
There it is.
Okay.
Come on. Give me a little bit. Yeah.
It
But-
goes straight to his head. Beware.
But it was 24 hours of right because then went it right back to what I say.
Which is what I agreed with. Which is, again, the problem was that I said it with my chest, and you were like, it'd be nice for them to win by 10 points, which I said that's what I was saying.
Here was the point. Dan was like, you're going to feel a lot better when they win and blow somebody out and cover. You did, right? You felt better. And then about 24 hours later, you're going, they got the Chiefs this week.
100%.
So this game, the Panthers, means hindsight win. Whether you won it by 4 or won it by 40, it's a hindsight win.
But they got, even Josh and Sean both said after the game, that's the standard. That was what it was. So to beat a bad team,
The
like
standard needs to be higher.
a 31-point
No,
win.
because it's the Panthers. The Panthers got to beat the good
Was
teams.
it a 40-point win that he wanted? I only wanted
No,
double
I
digits.
want them
He
to
wanted
beat the
40.
good teams.
And that's what I said. The way that they played against Carolina, and we'll get into the issus and the questions that they
God,
still
this
have.
is gonna be a night.
We
I'm
want to
opening
hear
my
your
Bud Light.
questions, too. Obviously, we mentioned it. There was a couple of funny comments. Cake Horn said Dan has a fever. He needs more big game Gabe. That's not accurate. Another question was, who's going to the Miami game? Joshua Vick is flying down from Alaska. More Alaska people are going to the Miami game.
Wow.
So
That's impressive.
that was pretty cool. My point is that the Carolina game made me think, hey, they figured some things out. I don't know what to take of the defense because we talked about it. Andy Dalton was very bad in that game. It didn't make me think that the Bills are any more or less Super Bowl contenders by beating Carolina by 31. It was a spot to get right. That was literally what it was. And Josh even kind of admitted that after the game. Now that's turn the page, and you still have things to address when Kansas City comes to town.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I think one of the things to
So I
address-
was right.
But I was right first.
Do you see what I deal with? The egos are trying. How about
I
you?
know.
How about this? Two things can be true, and you were both right.
I know. Two things can be true at the same time. Jenna reminds us of that all the
It was
time.
nice to get the win.
Yep.
It
Yes.
was nice to see the Bills have some command because this season they have struggled to show that. And also, does that really affect how this team comes into a game against Kansas City? Probably not. But it's still nice to have that confidence.
No, and to the point about getting some things right, it also was getting some players on the field that had not been on the
Yes.
field, getting them some time. 2 veterans who had been suspended, and a rookie that had not played, who was hurt, and another rookie that was in a very limited role because he had been injured and was a rookie. So they all got out on the field a lot, and I think that's going to help them defensively. Well, maybe this week and certainly down the line, but you also have to keep in mind that, they are, like those 2 players are rookies, and now they're going against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But I was happy to see them get on the field, get a bunch of snaps, get that under their belt, and then see how they play this week.
Well, I also think one of the positives from that game against the Panthers was the run game and how James Cook looked and how just dynamic he has been this season, because I think for this team, that is what they're putting their horses to, is James Cook and his ability to run.
James Cook has been the best player on the Bills this year. And I know nobody wants to I know they have Josh Allen, and I know he's going to be a Hall of Famer, and I think someday he's going to get this team where they want to go. But James Cook has been their most consistent player and high-end player. I think this season, to this point, he's been their best player.
Yeah,
No question.
I agree.
re-signing him has been Beane's best move since drafting Josh Allen.
I might go along. I think I got to go along with that.
Yeah, because now it seems like he's underpaid, too.
Because it was a very real possibility that he would either finish this year out and walked, or they would have dealt him. I guess could have happened, too. But he has proven to be an exceptional back, not just a good back.
Yeah, no, it's true. All right, we got to talk, though. You mentioned how good the run game is. I think the passing game has left some things to be desired, Dan. And I asked you this earlier on because I had someone ask me this. Is Josh Allen broken?
No. Josh Allen isn't broken.
I think fans want to hear that.
Yeah. Josh Allen isn't broken. I said it after the Atlanta game was that it looks like he doesn't trust or have faith in any of his wide receivers to get open. And then when one gets open like Elijah Moore did, there is this sense of, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. It's like the dog finally catches up to the mail truck and doesn't know what exactly to do once he gets there, and then he misses the throw. Like, that's one that when you are able to repeat it time and time again and throw to open wide receivers, you hit those throws. There's breakdowns on the offensive line when it comes to blitzes. We saw that early on in the game, and Josh is a little bit bailing too soon. He's trying to escape the pocket because he doesn't think that his guys are winning enough one-on-one, so he's trying to buy time for them. And the crazy part is that he can buy 7 to 10 seconds, and there's still nobody open, which is hard to do in the NFL, to be covered for 10 seconds. But that's where the Bills' wide receivers are at this point. I don't think he's broken. It seems like the players around him, and I will say it, like, they're failing Josh. It's not just, as we've talked about, whether Beane has given him enough talent around him, whether it's the players around Josh. He can't throw and catch the ball. This isn't the 49ers game. Like, at some point, guys have to win. And when players have had good games, he has said, Dalton Kincaid against New England, he won his one-on-ones. So win, and Josh will reward you, and Josh will look better in the process.
I agree, and I think they do not have. I agree with you, Dan. What a wonderful take you just had there. To say that
got a lot of them. I'm chock full of them tonight.
The Bills' wide receivers are not good enough. I won't even say, like, raise your hand. Well, I'll say it. If you think the Bills' wide receivers are good enough, raise your hand.
Nobody has raised their hand.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know if Beane's going to do something before the deadline. The deadline is next Tuesday. He has a player on the roster now who has an ability to be elevated and to play on Sunday, who's had a decent amount of success in a Bills uniform.
Dan knows very well. Dan, Gabe Davis possibly coming back to this roster. How much
So
does
Gabe
that
Davis
excite you?
he was on the injured list on the practice squad. But as of this week, if they want him to play in the game by Saturday, they elevate him, he can play in the game. Daniel?
I think he plays on Sunday. I think he is active. I think they elevate him.
Hold on. We should take a moment of silence for Dan.
And I think he'll have zero impact
Wow.
on said game. But I think he'll have a jersey and a helmet. I just don't know what is left in Gabe Davis's game. Now, I was talking to people over there too, and Daryl was asking, like, do you think that he does he change the passing game? No, I don't. But it's kind of like my thought with Jordan Poyer, where I went, no, I don't want Jordan Poyer back. I don't think there's any tread left on the tires. And then it's halftime of the Atlanta game, and I'm going, screw it, Jordan Poyer. Like,
put him out there.
At this point, like for as much as I don't dislike Gabe Davis, I just don't.
I'm kidding.
I just don't not like the player that he is.
But he does raise the floor of this whole entire wide receiver room if he's out there.
I don't think so.
Well, even if that's the case,
Oh,
that's an indictment on the wide receiver room more than anything.
I'm not saying it's
yeah.
not,
Correct.
but I also think
Jacksonville's
it does.
paying him money to not be there.
I will tell you guys this.
I don't know how else to say it.
I think Sean McDermott has laid down a bit of a law. The guys know I talk about meritocracy on this team. That's the NFL. The best guys play. What he has done in season is added competition on this team. Max is out there, the rookie. They didn't wait. Put him out there. Jordan Hancock is going to play at safety. I'm not saying that Gabe Davis is going to solve their issues. They need another player. But I don't think it's necessarily a terrible thing for guys in that wide receiver room to see a guy there who's had success with Josh Allen ready to go on the field. Because you better believe the moment Jordan Poyer walked in that place, said all the right things, he wanted to play. And whether it's coming down or going up, he has gotten him on the field. I'm not saying Gabe changes it. I'm just saying that I think it's okay for guys not to be comfortable in their roles, and that starts with Keon Coleman.
That's my point. That's where I'm going to disagree, where you say it's a meritocracy and that Sean has done all these things. I disagree with how bad the wide receiving room is. Keon Coleman has not earned, by his play in the field, the most snaps and the most targets by Bills wide receivers. He hasn't.
Right.
There has never been a player that has been given so much, that has done so little as Keon Coleman. The way that they will constantly put him on the field, constantly give him every opportunity, when he hasn't earned it with his play, and he hasn't earned it with his play off the field either, because he's been disciplined twice for
I think
it.
it has started to change. I don't think Josh is looking for him as much anymore. He's given him opportunities. They did try to force it a little bit to plays that I just don't think work for him. And I think that's changed. I'm just saying is these other players may not be the final answer, but I think they can push a little bit. And I'd like to see, at least I'd like to see that.
I was going to say, do you think Gabe being around would push Keon Coleman in that way?
If he doesn't, then Keon's not paying attention. He's not.
I agree.
Well, if that's the case.
He clearly hasn't.
Well, he's going to lose snaps. He's going to lose time unless something changes. And maybe it's a trade. That's what I would like to see. I think most people would like to see. Josh Allen deserves better. I tweeted that in Atlanta. He deserves better. They do not have the talent for him. And if you don't do it in a trade, you've got to somehow formulate it or change the way you approach the offense.
What would you say right now is your expectation percentage-wise that the Bills would make a trade before the trade deadline?
A trade? I think it's a decent percentage. A trade, 50%, it's like that they get a D tackle. They maybe get, I don't even think
How about
they'll
wide
get
receiver? Which would also play into this is the fact that Beam would have to say, this is not enough.
Bingo.
And I don't know if...
I think it's like a 5% chance they trade for a wide receiver. And I think that is part of Bean's ego, which is fine. Like, again, they have given Keon so many opportunities, and they just may ride this out.
Yeah.
Like, they may just do that. And I look at it and I go, if they trade for another wide receiver, that is all I need to know about Keon Coleman. Like, they did it last year with Amari Cooper, and it was Keon's young. And we always say, it's the same thing that I said about Gabe Davis when they signed Emmanuel Sanders to be the number 2. I said, if they really thought Gabe could be the number 2, a few years ago, they don't sign Emmanuel Sanders. They signed Emmanuel Sanders to keep Gabe at that 3rd and 4th slot. And if you trade again for another X-wide receiver, a guy on the outside, then it's not Keon Coleman. Because then you've done it for 2 straight years.
Right.
Because if you're making the move to make the team better short term, you are kind of punting on whatever Keon could be by stunting his development. And I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I got to say, I know what you're saying.
You're kind of throwing in the towel on what Keon is.
Yeah, I just don't think you have time to wait. I mean,
I agree.
yeah.
There's too much at stake. So, egos aside, I think you have to do what's best for the team, and that might mean another deal. Like Josh Palmer hasn't been healthy. Maybe he plays this week. He showed that little flash in the game in Atlanta, and then he got hurt. But I just don't think they've been getting. Obviously, they haven't gotten anything really out of Curtis Samuel or Elijah Moore.
Yeah.
So these are the guys they've brought in over the past few years. So while you can sit there, I'm not saying you, as Brandon Bean can sit there and say, last year it worked with a similar group.
Yeah.
It was a really odd year. They never turned the ball over. It just worked and worked very well. That's not happening this year.
Mac Hollins.
Mac
worked.
Hollins helped him a lot last year. I would have loved to seen him keep
There was
Mac.
a comment I wanted to touch. It was from Nurse Giggle. Early on, she said, Dan, be the wide receiver hater. I'm the farthest thing from it. I am team wide receiver.
Dan is our diva wide receiver.
I just want good wide receivers. I'm a hater of bad wide receivers. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And again, Keon Coleman has not done enough. He got roasted by Steve Smith on the podcast, calling him pretty much not the guy. He said, quote, "You can't teach a dog to bark. Either you got it or not."
Yeah.
Keon was asked about those comments in the podcast today. He said, did you hear the question was, did you see the comments from Steve Smith, and do you have any comment response to it? And he said, no comment, next question.
Yeah, it's kind of what you think he's going to say.
Do you think that could play a factor in Keon Coleman and like his, I don't want to say like a galvanizing moment for him and for his career, but do you think that could have an impact?
Look, it's the opinion of a player who happened to be a really good player in the league, and he's entitled.
Was a dog.
Right,
Yeah.
and he's entitled to his opinion.
Like the epitome of a dog.
Right. But you can't be driven in general. It's like that's guy's opinion. I think it's just about self-awareness as a player. I would hope that some of that would have come about already and getting called out. And if you just get ticked off and you want to prove Steve Smith wrong, that would be great. Make him great motivation and go do something that proves him wrong.
Yeah.
I just don't know if he's got that in him. Certainly at this time, on a team that has Josh freaking Allen as your quarterback, and he's 29 years old, and it's got to move forward.
Yeah.
And Jenna, we were talking earlier today off of Joe Brady's comments, because you kind of posed the question of like, hey, the way that you thought, you were like, does anybody else feel the way that you did? Which is what?
So we listened to everything that the Bills put out in terms of their interviews, and on Monday, after every game, Sean McDermott talks, Joe Brady talks, Bobby Babbage talks. And, you know, after this game most recently, Bobby Babbage, even after every game, he'll say, the defense was not good enough. We need to clean up these things. We need to do X, Y, Z better. I need to be better. All of kind of that sentiment. And Joe Brady sometimes will push back when a reporter will have a question of, you know, the passing game. It seemed like it wasn't as sharp as it needed to be. And Joe Brady's response was essentially like, well, we didn't need to pass the ball. And to me, I just wanted to see your two thoughts on, and other people's as well, of what that means for a coordinator. Because sometimes I feel like it can always be better, right? And so to say like, well, we didn't need to pass the ball, I wonder if there's a little bit of ego in that answer. And I understand there's a lot of ego in the NFL, but I'm curious what you think and what you make of that.
I have less of an issue with saying, oh, the passing game's fine, we can do better, or we didn't need it in this game. I have more of an issue when Sean McDermott says you're being too cute in the play calls, then you come back the next week and do another cute play. And that, to me, is like the head coach. You know, sometimes people think the coach doesn't say it or it's all coach talk. Sean McDermott says some things that are pretty blunt. That's too cute for our offense. We're better than that. He doesn't want that. So that part, I'm like, the head coach is saying it, not some reporters, not fans. The head coach is saying that to him.
Sean said after the game, like, we need to throw the ball.
Yeah.
And then he was kind of asked on Wednesday about Joe's comments from Monday, and he's like, I heard what Joe said. We're on the same page. There's not some disconnect. I think it's a little bit of Joe standing up for himself, standing up for his guys, which I'm totally fine about. But this thought that we can throw the ball, I have no concerns, we just didn't need to, look at the Ravens game is a weird way of, I think, putting your neck out there. And I had made the joke of like, it's when you say, like, oh, I have a girlfriend, she's really hot, she just goes to a different school. Like, you guys don't know her. Like, yeah, like, we can throw the ball, we just didn't have to. Like,
an analogy only Dan would make.
because guess what?
Your father-in-law is here.
Yes. Shout out, Chuck. I go, it's the fact of the matter is that, like, you better be right. Because more than ever, you're going to need to throw the ball this week to keep up with the Chiefs' offense. So to sit there and say, no concern, we're fine, we can when we need to, is kind of a putting interesting choice of words before you're going to have to Like, Josh has thrown for 150 yards the last 2 games. That's not good enough.
Well, Jenna, Dan's right. They're going to need it. Oh, God, I said it again.
Another one.
Man.
Boy, if we did a drinking game, everybody would be drunk when Mike said Dan is right.
They do need it against the
Actually,
Chiefs.
speaking of that,
Okay, there we
it's
go.
time to open it.
Shout out Bud Light.
They do need it against the Chiefs. Guess what? Like they needed it against the Patriots. They needed it against the
Atlanta.
Falcons.
Yeah.
And they didn't have
We
it.
can when we wanted to. We just didn't do it against Atlanta,
And
New
it's
England,
Josh
and
Allen,
Carolina,
so-
and
that's
all the other
crispy.
games.
Yeah, so they definitely need to do that. I'm concerned about the offense. I'm intrigued about the defense because I think they're not afraid to put players on the field. I think a lot of jobs are, certainly snaps are on the line. Deion Walker has stepped onto that defense and proven he belongs in there and getting snaps. And he's done it because he's played that way. Now, they've had injuries too, but Deion's going to be on the field.
Yeah.
Right? And, heck, A.J. Epinesa made plays. Michael Hoyt stepped right in and made plays. Greg Rousseau had a heck of a game against Carolina.
Way to go, man.
Yeah.
So say Mike was, oh, God, he's not even going to give it to him.
What do we say?
I don't know.
What's the
Just say
blind
Gr-
squirrel? Everybody
want-
made a play on the defensive line. Congrats to Greg.
He was really
It's like
good.
that Commanders game from a few years ago that whenever we need video, there's a sack, there's an
Yeah.
interception
Yeah.
from that Commanders game against.
Yeah.
I do think this year what we've seen, and maybe it's because of the injuries, but maybe it's also because some of the age, is that I feel like for so long it's like the Bills' defensive unit is set. There's no one really cracking the
Right.
lineup. And now you're seeing Max Harrison get in some turn. You see Jordan Hancock getting in there, Shaq Thompson. Like, again, injury is a piece of this, but there's more fluidity to that group, and I feel like they are. Now Michael Hoyt back, Larry Ogunjobi. They're having more options, and they're kind of getting to see more faces in this defense where before we really wouldn't see that.
I'm fascinated by the rotation that they did. That's not their norm. Now, let's see how it plays out this week. I don't know if they're ready to just say Max is the starter and just have him start.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll keep this rotation going for a little while. And Jordan Poyer has given them good snaps. I think it's better for him as a player to have Jordan Hancock come in the game.
Can I tell them what he was doing before the game?
Oh, go ahead. Yeah.
So before the game, national anthem's done. It's right before the game starts. Jordan Poyer, I look over, and he's sniffing the football. So you know that man was very excited to get back out on the field. Just smelling the football.
Yeah.
That's a
That
gamer.
he is that kind of guy, though. I mean, you guys remember the story when they played the Chiefs, and they
Yeah.
didn't let him fly because he had been injured the week
Bruised his
before.
ribs.
Bruised ribs. So he had a guy, they got in a van, and he drove 17 hours to
That was
Kansas
also
City.
the same year that he had messed up his elbow in training camp,
Yeah.
played through everything.
Oh.
Played through all
Yeah.
of it. So he is very happy to be back on the field.
Yeah.
But the idea that they're looking for help on that defense. The defense has not been good enough. They did have a good game, as
And
we
that's
said,
the
against
thing,
a
is that
bad team.
I feel like the defense, to your point, is such a meritocracy. That, like, hey, Taylor Rapp, which I think was a soft benching, like it was a, hey.
It might be a combination. He wasn't playing
Agreed.
well. He certainly
But-
is banged up. Yeah.
But again, somebody asked me, like, why did Sean say, like, all of a sudden the knee injury come out of nowhere when Taylor Rapp hadn't been on the injury report all season? And then that's Sean. That's why he's a player's coach of saying, hey, by the way, we're going to sit you down. We're going to put you on IR, and I'm going to make sure everybody knows you've been injured. And I'm going to remind people that you were injured in training camp. That's why your play this year hasn't been up to snuff.
Sticking up for your players.
So
It's
get
sticking
yourself
up-
healthy.
it's-
Yeah.
Taylor Rapp doesn't need to make the excuse. Your head coach is sticking up for you saying, he's been playing hurt. We haven't talked about it, but he's been hurt. Remember in training camp?
Yeah.
That's the sign of a veteran player coach that is sticking up for his guys. But that's where I think it was also part of the problem with the defense of, we may be benching you anyway. Why don't you go on IR and get fully healthy because we need to do something different because your performance isn't good enough. And I think that goes into the linebacker position. There's a bunch of messages on the YouTube chat of just like, hey, Shaq Thompson's been playing good. Unfortunately, Shaq Thompson didn't practice today on Thursday because he has been playing well.
Yeah.
And Sean was even asked about, like, hey, if Bernard and Milano are fully practicing on Wednesday, do they automatically start? And he's like, that's not necessarily the case. Like, we've got to look into some things because they need to put out the two best linebackers to play.
I agree with that. It's also, why tell the Chiefs?
Oh, my
Say it again.
gosh. Michael,
Say it again.
choose your words better.
I don't disagree with everything Dan says.
You don't have to agree with everything either.
No, I agree that Sean said that, but also, why tell the Chiefs who's going to play linebacker in the game?
That's fair.
I think
That's
it
fair.
does impact a little bit. I think Bernard and Milano are going to be out there, and I do think this team, it's better to have those two on the field
I agree.
against the Chiefs. I think the way they play, it's a better fit.
The Bills really, for the last 3+ years, have built the defense to play the Chiefs.
Yes.
Yes.
Like they have
Smaller.
built a smaller, faster defense.
Well,
Quicker, not maybe
In
not
theory,
In
faster.
theory, faster.
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that's why you draft
lighter.
Harrison.
Yes.
Like, I think
Yeah.
that's part of it. That's why. I
Is
feel
that
like they
because you
have-
need someone to counter Xavier Worthy?
which you handed to the Chiefs?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I digress.
That's fine. Okay. All right. I think right now is a good moment.
Well, we'll
Let's-
have people come up.
Yeah, so let's have, if someone has a question in the crowd, you can come up over here.
Come
We're gonna
over
take
here to
a
my
couple
left.
questions from the crowd if anyone has one. And then we can answer your questions. You can do a quick little question.
Oh, we got a
Anyone?
Blue Jays fan coming up here for
I
a
was gonna
question.
say.
Yeah.
We'll come
Nigel?
over here. It's Nigel. Come on up. All right. We got. Go ahead, Nigel. Tell them where you're from and what your question is.
Okay, I'm from Brighton, New York. And my question is, in an interview earlier this year, Brandon Beane very forcefully told everyone that the offense was no problem,
I love
scoring
this guy.
plenty of
Yeah.
points. The issue was the defense, and there was no need to sign a wide receiver. Given the performance of the offense, the challenges of the defensive players drafted, is he on the hot seat? Is he under pressure?
So, Nigel, thank you.
Great question, Nigel.
Great
believe-
question.
I believe the actual quote was, bitching about wide receiver is the dumbest argument I've heard,
That is correct.
which was quite
Part of me wants Bean to trade for a wide receiver so that we can ask him, are we allowed to bitch about the wide receiver?
Yeah.
we don't need to do that.
I don't believe he's on the hot seat.
Bean is not on the hot seat.
Yeah.
No. And Sean McDermott is not on the hot seat. I know a lot of people want to think that. He's not. I mean, I guess if the season went totally south, it
Hey,
could
Nigel,
open something up.
Kendrick in the comments says thank you. Thank you, Nigel. Like, I think that's a sentiment a lot of Bills fans have, is that it wasn't that long ago that Bean's like, the offense is fine. Why are we talking about wide receivers? The defense needs to be fixed. And now we're sitting here 8 weeks into the season, and it's like, the offense has issues. Like,
Yeah.
what? And that's where I said, I remember, like, at the time, you can't just sit there and say, what we did last year, we're going to do again. Like, the Chiefs have never been that team where they've been like, oh, well, we've had a good offense, so we don't need to worry about it. They're constantly drafting wide receivers, signing players, improving their offense because teams adjust. There's a lot more film now on Joe Brady and what his offense is in Buffalo, and he needs to make adjustments.
So I will say this. On Brandon Beane's side, when you talk about addressing it, he signed Josh Palmer. He signed Elijah Moore, 2 wide receivers. The question is that really the way to go about it? Over the past few years, they've spent a lot of money on Curtis Samuel and Josh Palmer and have gotten mediocre to poor results from those 2 players. It's tough to live in that world when you're paying substantial money for mid-range, at best, wide receivers.
Yeah.
So the push would be to draft young players. Like, Keon is not playing well, but Keon is a relatively inexpensive player.
Correct.
Because draft picks on their rookie contracts are cheaper players. And if you continue to draft wide receivers, you hope to hit them. Much like they did in the secondary this year. When they took Max Hairston, they took Dorian Strong, they took Jordan Hancock. Like, they're taking some swings at the secondary. I think that's a great way to approach 2 expensive positions on the field.
Yeah.
There is a comment here from a John Feets in our chat. John Feets is watching. It's my dad. It's absolutely amazing how most of you fans are so negative. I can't imagine what you guys would have been saying during the drought. That's fair. I understand
Is that
we
really
joke.
your dad?
That's really I would imagine, unless there's another John Fates, which would be very strange. But I think that's my dad that's commenting in, who should be watching my kids right now. Now that I'm realizing that. Dad? Anyway, this is what we
Wait a
talked
minute, Shane's watching everybody, right?
I think, hi, Shane. There's a new stuffed animal that'll be coming home. But the goalpost has moved.
Yeah.
As a drought, if you in the middle of the drought, 5-2 was heaven. That's
Rare
not
is
this
what it was,
Dan.
We were saying that when the Bills were 4-0, and we're like, well, they're not winning by enough points. It's like, boy, Bills fans are spoiled. You've earned that pressure.
Yes.
That's why, like, comparing it to this playoff drought, John Fates doesn't know what he's talking about, is because things are different now.
Well, and also this team has had so much regular season success, winning the division as many times as they have. Now the benchmark for this team is not what they do in September through December. It's what happens in January and hopefully February.
Agreed.
So
We
I
got
do
another,
think
got another
that's-
question over here. Hang on a second here.
Who's this guy?
This
Yeah, who's
gentleman
this?
here. Greg Connors. Give Greg a big round of
I say,
applause.
yeah,
The
give
Connors
Greg
and Ferris
for-
podcast studio that we have. He's sponsored for us. You know your bills. What do you got for us, Greg?
So, Dan, I know why you were confused about the continental United States. So
Fair.
I understand your confusion.
Thank you.
So I just so you know that.
Appreciate it, Greg.
Now, the question I want to ask is, after the offense this week runs the ball decently, but they don't throw the ball as well as we expected, are you going to ask that question about, can we bitch about the receivers? Because I really think if we doesn't perform this week, if Keon doesn't step up, and Samuels isn't healthy, and Kincaid doesn't play as well as he should, that's a game. I'm looking to you guys to ask that hard question.
So it's a fair point, and I think people have asked us before, Greg, of like, hey, you guys had Bean on the patio. Like, why didn't you grill him there? There's time and place. But the reason I also think Bean has, for the longest time, been more favorable in the eyes of the fans is we don't hear Bean talk every week. It's Sean, it's Joe Brady, it's Babbage.
It's
They're the ones that
Sean.
have to answer the questions.
Yeah.
So Bean makes those comments on the radio, and we don't talk to Bean.
Not that often. It's maybe
You know what I'm saying?
5 times a year.
Like outside of a trade, Bean won't talk to the media. Does that make sense?
So the thing is that you're smart enough to ask that question to Joe Brady about what Bean said and then what his response is. What's he
Touche.
thinking?
Yes.
That is really interesting because at that point,
Player, smart guy.
you don't
Connors
know.
and Ferris, make sure if you need any help. Connors, personal injury attorney. Connors and Ferris.
If you're that coach, sometimes they are in a spot. What they think in private isn't what they're going to tell us.
Yeah. Yep.
Because sometimes it comes out in the moments of frustration, usually like right after a game, but that's not the case. Look, I hope they recognize it. I hope, everybody's got an ego, but I hope they can put it aside enough to say, let's try to do this. In fairness to this way, like Bean has, early on, he traded for Kelvin Benjamin. That did not work. He traded last year for Amari Cooper. That did not work. He has gone out and gotten, one time it was Nyheim Hines, a running back. Like, he has tried this to help the offense. He also made a trade for Stephon Diggs. Now, that was early on, so he's made those moves. The frustration now is Josh Allen has reached this MVP level, and as great as he is, look at Mahomes. I mean, we all know Mahomes is a great player. But the last couple of years, they got by with their defense, mostly. He was good because he's Mahomes. That was not a great – here I'm saying this. They went to the Super Bowl each of the last 3 years.
Yeah.
But it was not a great offense. But they kept going, like you said, kept going to find players and to find players who help that offense. And I think you're right. You can ask. Unfortunately, sometimes if we ask Sean McDermott or the players or Joe Brady, they're not in control of bringing those players in or out. And they're teammates with some of the guys who aren't performing. So it does
Checking
make
the
it
Sabres
tough.
score. Sorry.
Wow.
They're down 1-0.
They're Sabre. Oh, now it's 2-0. You checked the Sabres. It went from 1 to 2.
That's fair.
It's all right.
No, I do hear what you're saying, Mike. I have a question, Dan. I asked Mike this just about like percentage that Bean makes a move before the trade deadline, specifically at wide receiver, where would you put that at?
That they trade for wide receiver?
Yeah.
Less than 10%.
Okay.
I think they're going to give Keon every single opportunity to become a factor, to become something. And again, we have seen it at times, and Steve Smith talks about it. I do encourage people somebody was commenting Steve Smith wasn't a Hall of Famer. What does he know? Steve Smith was in offensive rooms, was a phenomenal player, and did it undersized and tough as nails, and he's been in the media.
I'd take Steve Smith on the roster now.
Yeah.
He was a dog. That guy was 5 nothing and would go up and get the ball. He'd fight the guy on the other team. That is
Keon
the type
Coleman's
of player.
yak. His yards after catch is 1.7 yards after the catch. Yeah, Greg Connors is laughing over there. You can fall forward and get 1.7 yards per catch. So, again, and this is evident as ever because it's topical, because of the Chiefs, because you traded Xavier Worthy, because you traded back and sat and were fine with Keon or whatever it was as your first pick in that second round. But this is a game where, this will be a storyline. Jim Nantz and Tony Romo will be talking about the trade, and it was Xavier Worthy and Keon Coleman, and this is going to be a topic.
Because, Jenna, you've noticed, I'm sure, we've been talking about this the whole time. And because we're around the team all the time. What's happened in recent weeks? It's Dan Orlovsky and Stephen A. Smith and whoever on CBS Sportsline and everybody online is all saying, hey, I don't think the Bills have enough weapons on that offense. This is what's going to hold them back. Mm-hmm. It is almost like an avalanche of a narrative at the moment. And Dan's saying that because this game is Romo and Nance, and the whole country is seeing this game.
Yeah.
If that wide receiver room is not performing, that was what Tony Romo is going to be talking about Sunday.
Do you think it's an advantage then that the Bills have this game before the trade deadline?
It's a good question.
Thank you.
I'll tell you after the game's over.
I don't know how much it impacts it, but it's a good question.
I feel like it could impact it, just depending on how things go, because I think this can kind of be a litmus test for where this Bills team is at.
So last year, they had struggled in 2 games, and then they went and played the Jets. They got through that game. They survived. The Jets made a move to get
the Jets?
Yeah, when they made the first move to get to wide receiver. Devontae Adams.
Oh.
And then it was
I forgot about that.
An hour later, the Bills got Amari Cooper.
Yes.
And actually, at the time, Amari Cooper had success in this league.
Yeah.
And then he comes out in the first game with the Bills, catches a touchdown, and then
I liked the move. It didn't work out how you wanted it to, but I like taking those swings because you knew that there was a deficiency at wide receiver. You went and made a move to try to adjust that.
There are players out there, if teams are willing. Rashid Shaheed of the Saints.
Chris Olave.
It's in the final year of his contract. Maybe not a perfect fit, but he's got speed, can play on the outside. Chris Olave is a really good player. He's had issues with concussions, but he's really good with no quarterback in New Orleans. And then you've got Brian Thomas Jr., who I loved from the draft. He went to Jacksonville, had a great rookie year. Somehow he's really fell out of favor. I don't know if they're just trying to light a fire under him, but his position skill set would fit phenomenally with the Bills. That would be a really, really big long shot for them to make a move like that.
Yeah, I think it's also just Joe Brady needing to adjust a little bit. Teams now know what the Bills, everybody eats. Mike said they're intermittent fasting. Everybody's starving.
Not eating.
This isn't working. The Bills did not complete a pass to a wide receiver beyond the line of scrimmage in the first half against Carolina. That's not good enough.
With Josh Allen as your quarterback. That's the thing. It's not
That's
Andy
staggering.
Dalton. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shakir is a really good player.
Passes to 2 wide receivers. Shakir and 1 to Coleman.
But they get the ball to Shakir sometimes Dalton Kincaid is
Again, I was talking. I thought about that Shakir play because you're like, look, it's a big play. It's a 4-yard completion and a 51 yards after the catch. That's great if you can get it.
Yeah.
That's awfully tough to bank on.
Yeah. I mean, Shakir is a phenomenal run after the catch guy. Give him some help on the outside.
Shakir, once again.
Yes, Jenna
Jenna
told
was
everybody
right.
Shakir was
Yes.
going to be the best. Yes. Oh, my God. I'm getting beaten up today.
Who'd you have?
Curtis Samuel, if anybody wants his stock, I've got a ton of it. I've been looking to sell it at its low point.
Well, it was better than
MVS.
MVS
Yeah,
before
yeah.
that.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah,
on
for everybody
fire.
that says I hate wide receivers, I just pick bad ones. That's pretty much what it is.
Okay. What were we talking about? Sorry.
I don't know, Jenna. You're the host.
I had to interrupt to get the Khalil Shakir in there. Okay, you know what's funny? I don't know if Bills fans have heard this, but the Chiefs are now using Everybody Eats.
I know.
Everybody's, what is it? Everybody go and eat?
Everybody's got to eat.
Everybody's got to eat. Can you imagine?
I said they should let them have that saying. I'm so sick of that saying, everybody eats. I want somebody to be that good on this wide receiver group that he's just a pig and he
He's
just
just
stays up there.
stuffed.
Just eats
Just
everything.
Stuffed.
Right? You saw Drake London. They were like, oh, let's just throw it to this guy like 15 times in the
I
game.
want somebody to get rolled out of a buffet. Like, that's what I want.
Yeah. I mean, look, you had great experience with Diggs until it wasn't. But you also saw in the game against the Patriots, Diggs is one of those players. Diggs is not a top, I don't know, what would he be? Top 20 player as a
Who?
wide receiver in the league? 15?
Right
20?
now?
Diggs.
Yeah, 20.
Somewhere, right. But he is that guy that when you know they're going to get him the ball, he can get the ball.
And again,
and I'm not saying they're not getting Diggs back. I'm not saying that. I'm saying a player doesn't have to be a superstar.
And it's something worth mentioning. We've talked about it on previous, I think it was the last podcast we did last Thursday on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. Appreciate it as always. That Dalton Kincaid is their best pass-catching option right now. He's their threat to kind of stretch the field. Shakir's great. He's their most dependable. But Kincaid is actually the guy that is stretching that intermediate range that they really don't have right now. He played 15 or 16 snaps against Carolina, and they ran the ball one time when he was on the field. I talked about it last week, that they pass the ball about 78% of the time when he's on the field. It's a very big tell for a coach that wants to be two-dimensional. They do not run the ball when Dalton Kincaid is on the field. So it's tough to kind of balance that between wanting to be two-dimensional, but your best pass catcher, you can't run the ball when it's going on.
Dan said about the two-dimensional part. So Sean McDermott pushes back. We were in the press room after the win against Carolina, and one of the reporters said to him, we know you love to run the ball, blah, blah, blah. And Sean pushed back and said, I don't think you've heard me say I love to run the ball. Like, I want to move the ball. I want to be successful. And I don't think as a defensive head coach, he wants to be perceived as a guy who doesn't want to throw. The best thing he did for this team was to increase their ability to be physical and run the football.
Yes.
But to marry that with the passing game. Last year, it worked. It did.
Absolutely.
They didn't turn the ball over. The defense kept taking the ball away. They were getting good field position. They got a bunch of possessions, and it worked. But that is hard to replicate. And I think they will recognize that they need to be better in the pass game. The question is, do they try to do it in some way with personnel? Uh-oh.
Ralph Wilson Sr., 3728. Coleman gets the most targets to eat. Unfortunately, he's got a football allergy.
Listening to you try to read that.
Yes.
So dyslexic. Sucks being so dyslexic when you're trying to like hit a comment hard. Coleman gets the most targets to eat.
Yeah, we all heard
He's
it.
got
We
a
know it
football-
now.
I just wanted to try it again.
Use your finger to read a.
Oh my gosh. Sam Bartlett watching from Australia. Go Bills.
Look at that.
Oh, that's really
Is that
cool.
farther away than Alaska?
Is that
Not part of the
that's-
continental United
That's
States.
not continental United States. No.
I was all over that one.
Oh, that's perfect. All right, do we want to go into our picks? Predictions?
You start.
Yeah, you start, Jenna.
Okay.
Because she's leading again.
I know. Which, if you have not watched the Buffalo Plus Hot Ones that we did, we can tell them, right, what happened?
Yeah, we can tell them.
So, I don't know if you've seen the Buffalo Plus Hot Ones we did over the Bills bye
Do you
week.
guys know what Hot Ones is? where you eat the chicken wings while you answer questions, and they get
Yes, and it gets progressively hotter and
great-
hotter and hotter and
Yeah.
hotter and hotter.
the great people at Karma. The
Yeah.
Karma sauces got us the
Awesome.
sauces. This stuff is insane once you
There's
get to the
some really
highest
good
level.
ones. and
There's some really good ones.
Yeah.
Spicy. And I like spicy food, but we were crying. But Mike and I, we recorded the whole podcast, and we had an audio issue, so we had to do the Hot Ones episode entirely over all again.
I was on my deathbed when we got back from Atlanta. I was not feeling well. I was like, I can't make it in for this one. Just happened to be a coincidence.
Yes.
And I get a text from Jenna that says, we did the pod, no audio.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not good.
I will say Jen is a gamer because we got done and we were sitting there talking and we're like, well, what are we going to do? And she's like, we got the wings, we got the sauces. Let's do it again.
We're doing
we
it
ran
again.
It back.
But
that was a lot of
I
wings.
only mentioned
Dog.
that because can't teach this dog to bark. I only mentioned that because I am right now in the lead for our picks and predictions. So
God,
if
you're always
I
bragging.
win, I'm going to make these two do Hot Ones while also reading progressively snarkier comments about the two of
You mean
them.
the things
So-
people say online about us? I don't know if you guys know this, but sometimes people say mean stuff online. Yeah, and they say it very directly about
Yes.
all of us, mostly, well, me and Dan.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is that everybody is so nice when we meet them in person.
Till you walk away.
Yeah.
No, but like everybody that we've done all these meet and greets, people are like, Dan is right. This is it's
You
so
do
nice.
get
No,
a
they
lot
don't
of
all
love.
say Dan
I
is
do.
right.
It shocks me.
But behind keyboards, people do not like me.
Yeah,
So
no.
we would read those as they go along.
Eating really, really spicy wings.
Yeah.
But I say that because I am in the lead for our picks.
Yes.
So there's that. But my pick for Sunday, look, I think this is just going to be a really tough matchup for the Bills. I think the Chiefs are playing really well right now. I think you just see how efficient their offense has been in terms of the Chiefs. They got Rashee Rice back, who has been an absolute gamer, dynamic player. I think the Bills will figure it out. I just think right now with where the passing game is at, I just don't have the thoughts that the Bills can stay up with a track meet if that's what Kansas City gets this game into, and my expectation is that will be the case. So I do have the Chiefs winning this game. I know, I'm sorry.
Hey, guys, save your booze for Mike and I. Just gonna be honest with you. Got Jenna's back here. You're gonna boo all
Thank
of us. Spoiler alert.
All right, Michael, you
So
want
I think there is a path to the Bills winning this game. They're at home. They play well against the Chiefs in the regular season. They've played well. They play them very tough in the playoffs. They just haven't made the play to win the game. I think they need a certain type of game. I think they need a very physical game. They need to run the football. They need to put Josh in advantageous positions where you're not 3rd and 9 where he's getting the blitz and it's causing the issues that's going on. They need to be a bit of a bully in this game offensively. And I think that could put them in a spot. And then, the defense, honestly, I like the young legs out there. I don't know if they'll get run by because they have no idea where they're going or they'll make a few plays. I think the Chiefs aren't sure what they're getting in some of the players on the Bills' defense. But there's just too many things that need to go right for them. I think they're been too good of a team to have this many question marks at this part of the year. I think the defense will get better because of the influx of players. I hope that the offense gets some help. I've got the Chiefs winning it by 5 in this game, 31-26.
Yeah, you can boo Mike.
I gave you the whole game plan of how to win, so go execute.
Yeah.
And maybe it'll be the case.
I agree with Mike and Jenna. I look at this, and the biggest concern for me is how well this Chiefs offense is playing and how I still have big question marks about this Bills defense at this current moment. So I think there are a couple of different ways the Chiefs can win. I think there's like 1 or 2 ways that the Bills can win. So this doesn't make me panic anymore. I think the Chiefs kind of go up and down the field as we've seen a lot of offenses do this season. 33-24, Chiefs win.
Go ahead, boo him.
Yeah, the
So-
trifecta boost.
Waiting for the
So I will say this. There's been the narrative that the Chiefs' offense has been rolling. They've been good. They played the Raiders, who are atrocious. They were terrible in the first half against the Commanders and then had a good second half. They scored points, and it was a really entertaining game to watch against the Lions.
I'd
who were
love to be
playing-
wrong.
Yeah.
Who were playing with their fifth
Dan's
and
used to
sixth
it.
corners. And they have lost 3 games this year. So they are not some juggernaut. The problem I have, and I think you guys would all admit, when you watch them and they're going, they look like those old Chiefs. That bothers me because that team was really tough to handle. That's bothering me more than what they've accomplished. To me, it looks more like where they're going. But you never know what happens on Sunday.
Do you know what's funny is that Jenna comes in whenever we come into the sports office, and she's like, what's your guys' pick? We all kind of say our picks one to one another. And out of all of the times for all of us to pick against the Bills,
It's when we got
have
an audience.
a live show in front of an audience. If we did this in the Connors and Ferris podcast studio, it'd be a lot different. But like even now, we're like sitting here, it's like, yeah, Chiefs 33-24. Like, let's just keep going on to the next thing. Picasso's player of the game. Like, let's just keep it moving.
Yeah.
Like, this
Listen.
is the toughest time where even Jenna's like, I like the Chiefs, but it stinks that we're doing this live show. Like, yeah, this is not what everybody. But again, getting the gauge from people, I think we all agree that like this is.
There's some anxiety.
There's anxiety. There's nerves. This isn't a great matchup the way that the Chiefs are playing and the way the Bills are currently. But again, the Bills force a couple of turnovers like they have done in the past. And
Crowd
they
gets going.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the Bills are underdogs, which I do
I
think.
love it. I love that they're
love
underdogs.
that for them at home.
We all hope that we're like Dan. Wrong.
Boo! That was good. Hey,
That was really good.
That was good. That was good.
All right,
That
that's
was
really
good.
good. All right, the Bills' game plan to win. That also plays into our Picasso Player of the Week. A little Bud Light, a little Picasso Pizza. Player
night.
of the Week. Who would have to have a big game for the Bills to win?
Joe Brady needs a big game.
that was good.
Joseph.
Joe Brady, run the ball, get the ball out of Josh's hands,
was
have
Yeah.
blitz beaters for him, have outlets
pick
for
the
him.
entire unit.
If you see Josh
The
with the
offense.
I'm rolling here.
are.
If you see Josh
We're just trying to eat.
backing up, looking around, nowhere to go, throwing it out of bounds, not great. He's back there. The blitz is coming. Hot read, get it out of his hands. I want to see him pull that off of the Chiefs. If you're running the football well, getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands, it's going to greatly impact their ability to be effective blitzing the ball. I think it's an aggressive offense. I would not mind seeing them go with some pace, honestly, early in the game.
Yeah.
Get him out there.
Get Josh settled, too.
And that would mean, so when you go with pace and you go quick, that means you don't substitute. That means James Cook stays on the field.
Yep.
Keep him on the field, move quickly,
It also
get
keeps
some points.
It also keeps the defense in a base set. Like
Yeah.
they can't do
They can't.
exotic blitzes, things like that.
Maybe
So-
not the whole game, but at least
Yeah.
get them going that
Yeah,
way.
I'll say and I know I'm going to take yours. My Picasso's player of the game is Josh Allen. Like we need to see special Josh Allen, and he's done that. It's crazy. In the regular
So
season,
brave of you.
I know, right? It's kind of sad that that's the state of the Bills' offense. Is that like we never pick Josh for the 5 players to watch. We never pick him
Just assume he's
It's just
gonna be,
assumed,
right.
but like he's thrown for under 200 yards the last 2 games. He's going to need to throw for 250, I think, in this game to win. So
Yeah.
he's going to have to be special, and he may have to throw some wide receivers open if they can't. Like he's going to have to make some plays. In the regular season against Kansas City, he's 4-1. He averages 296 total yards, and the Bills average almost 26 points per game. That's great. In the postseason, he averages 327 total yards per game, and the Bills average 28 points, and he's 0-4.
Right.
He's better in the playoffs, in the biggest, brightest moments, and then the team.
But we know
Yeah.
what happens at the
So-
end of games in the regular season. Josh made the great run for the touchdown last year. Taron Johnson had the interception in Kansas City. They got a big call against the Chiefs late in that game.
Yeah.
That's the regular
Vaughn
season.
had a sack the one
In the
time.
playoffs, Diggs dropped the ball. Kincaid dropped the ball.
Tyler
Sherfield dropped the
Tyler
ball.
Bass missed
Tyler
the-
Bass missed the field goal.
We
Yeah,
don't need
it's
to
not-
keep listing.
Well,
Yeah, we don't need to do
I wanted to
that.
get booed again.
Yeah,
13 seconds. You want to
Yeah.
rehash 13 seconds?
I
Like,
know.
the audience would love
no.
it.
I don't
We don't
think
wanna
we
do
need to
it.
keep doing that.
That's it.
My Picasso Player of the Week, a guy that knows the Chiefs very well, Joey Bosa. I just want to see him have some more of an impact in this game.
Should have done Rousseau.
You mean the best
Yeah,
defensive end on the
He showed up last week, so
gotten Mike
you know
drunk.
what? I'll add in Greg Rousseau.
Yeah.
How about Greg Rousseau? I'll be rooting for him this week.
He's done it all. He's blocked a field goal, forced a fumble the past week. It's all over the place.
He has played pretty well.
He is playing well.
How
They
many
all
sacks
count.
is he up to now?
He's got 17 now by my calculations. I add numbers to Greg. If he blocked a field goal, that was worth like 6 sacks. Because I told them he's going to have 10, so
Yeah.
Mike
he's
just
already
counts
there.
like gold stars. He
It's
sees
like,
like
just
red
keep
near
giving
the
it
Is that
quarterback,
what
and
you
he's
do
like,
with your daughters?
Yes, it's
you
like-
finish your dinner?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like you brought your plate in without
You know
us
what's
asking.
funny?
That's a sack.
You see Greg, we all see him, and I'm thinking to myself, if that man knew how much we talk about him, he would be like, why do you talk about me
He's
so
such
much?
a nice guy,
He is
too.
a nice guy, and he's a giant,
Yeah.
too.
You know, there's times like after the interview's over, we like talk to the player like a little
Right.
bit off the record. It would be really funny if you were like, dude, man.
We
like,
talk about you
like,
all the time.
We need you. I need you. Mike or Dan and Jenna are really giving me a hard time. I need a big game out of you.
Big game. Big game, Greg.
That's very true. All right, we want to give a shout out to all the people we met here tonight. We have so many. Thank you so much. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Yeah, you guys are awesome.
We really, really appreciate it. Genuinely, Barb, Jeff, Brad, Mary, John, Paul, Dave, Kevin and Sue from Alaska, Nigel, Megan, Daryl, John, Sue, Tammy, everyone, we really appreciate it. It's been obviously
Awesome.
so
Awesome.
amazing to meet everyone, and we genuinely do. This means so much to us.
My high school teammate in the baseball team, Mike Parator. He's
Wow.
here, and his brother. They've been to a bunch of these. It is cool to see familiar faces that we've seen time and time again. Again, I know we usually joke around about it at the beginning, but we always say we'll do this, and we assume and are nervous that 3 people are going to show up.
Yes.
Especially in this crowded, little more intimate setting. It's really cool. We really, really appreciate it.
Yeah. So give
My
yourselves.
father-in-law.
Yeah. Chuck. Mr. Perot. We got the in-laws. We got Jenny. We want to
my wife was here, but she probably bailed on me. She hears me talk
My
enough.
wife. Yeah, we do. All right, give yourselves one more round of applause.
That's it.
Thank you so much for joining us here on the Buffalo Plus YouTube channel. Shout out to Bud Light. Shout out to the distillery.
To Brian and John behind the scenes.
Yeah, give
here.
them a
Makes
round.
everything
Honestly,
work
they
out.
do. They make us
They're the
sound
best.
and look great. Thank you so much. All right, for Mike and Dan, I'm Jenna. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Cheers, and thank you for watching Buffalo Plus. Thank you guys so much. We appreciate it.
Awesome.
This is the Buffalo Plus Podcast.